Hi, Brian, Nico, Dustin, and Mike. It's Julie Benz from Dexter. So first of all, I want to say thank you for being a fan of the show. And so thank you so much for watching and being a fan of Rita's and of mine. I'm so excited to have been a part of a show that many years later people are still watching and talking about and, doing prequels to. And don't go out there. Okay? Just don't go out there. Just don't do it. All right? And yeah. All right. Bye.
They've conquered the big screen. Now, get ready for the spin-off sure to send chills down your spine. It's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin in Don't Go Out There, the series.
Welcome back, everybody, to DGOT, the series. We really appreciate y'all listening. We hope y'all have been enjoying these series reviews. I know we have. It's been a lot of fun. Just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network, so there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We are continuing on with Season 1 of Dexter, Episodes 7 and 8. Brian's going to be doing scene by scene tonight. I will kick us off real quick with my thoughts. Dustin, you ended last week saying that you don't really fuck with this show, do you? Listen here, brother. I fuck with this show. 7 and 8 were by far, to me, the two best episodes. I was invested, very highly invested once episode 7 got going. Actually, about like the halfway point of 7 is when I was like, okay, this is really good. The first, like the very beginning, it still had like some weird tonal stuff, which I'll talk about in my breakdown. But 7 and 8 were great, and I'll touch on it as we break it down, but I love 7 and 8 a lot. Dustin, you want to go first, then Brian can go?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure I had the same reaction to you watching this show, but I don't remember because I binged it like a true binge. I watched every episode until I fell asleep and then picked it right back up. I couldn't remember what point I was completely hooked, but I'm pretty sure now it was like 6 got me. 7, I was like, oh, hell yeah. 8, I was like, I'm never going to stop watching this. And so I agree. The episodes, particularly in season 1, the episodes get better and better each week. And these two were phenomenal, damn near perfect.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. These are just two absolute bangers here. I agree. I do like episode 8 a little bit more because, we get another Dexter kill and, of course, that reveal. But we're at a point, like you mentioned, in this season where every single one of these are going to be just top-notch episodic storytelling. And I really enjoy them all the way through. And I'm going to be doing the scene by scene for this for these next two episodes. So you guys have anything you want to say before we jump into it?
Let's get it.
All right. Episode 7, Circle of Friends. Director Stephen Schill. We open up with Dexter still in his own head, giving a statistic about serial killers in the United States. And he says he wonders what it's like for the others. We then fade into a crime scene and are brought out of Dexter's mind by Dokes saying he's going to submit Dexter for psychiatric evaluation. Just more fantastic Dokes there. Anyway. We then cut to Deb sleeping at the station as Batista wakes her up and they exchange pleasantries and updates on the Eyes Truck Killer case. After some researching on moving violations at the crime scenes, they find a lead on Neil Perry. They track it down to his trailer and immediately feel like they have their guy, reinforced by Perry running after slashing their tires. Nice move there, by the way. Back at the station, Dexter does some more research of his own and discovers the knife wounds from the crime scene matches Jeremy Downs from a few episodes ago. Dexter gets brought up to speed on the ice truck killer case, but once again fails to be happy for Deb, which noticeably pisses her off. We cut to Rita trying to pick up her kids when she realizes the school gave them to her recently paroled ex-husband. Back now at Neil Perry's place, they realize that he's really into taxidermy, and when jokingly accused of running Masuka's prints as the ice truck killer, Masuka tells Deb he would gladly give her some warm DNA right then. Meanwhile, Rita and Dexter have a conversation at her house regarding Paul, and we meet him in person for the first time, and it's awkward as you'd expect. Back at Perry's house, Deb discovers a false wall in the closet, and they open it up to find what Batista calls the motherfucking motherlode.
All right, I thought it was a hell of a curve right off the rip. I was convinced Dexter was slicing someone up, but it was on his mind. I really like that. But like I mentioned in my opening, this was a weird tonal moment for me. It was really grim with the dead high school student and the coinciding score. That was just a bit too upbeat, and I didn't really know how to feel. But I don't have that feeling for the rest of this episode or the next episode at all. Compliment to Deb. This lady is a thinker. Running parking tickets at the crime scene, I thought that was brilliant, and I like that a lot. High octane escape by Perry, and he outsmarted the hell out of Batista and Deb. But I'm surprised they didn't have backup, but shout out to Perry, the computer hacker. LaGuerta is smart to keep this a low-key case, and I bet Deb has to feel over the moon getting chosen by Batista to help out. Like, she's moving up the ranks really quick. Good job, Rita, showing some grit, even if it is to the innocent sidewalk patrol guy for the school. Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? As soon as I saw the jackalope, this is some really good review talk, boys. It reminded me of the episode of Duck Dynasty where they get one price at the taxidermist, and they tell Uncle Si that if he had a set of nuts for it, he'd give him $50 more. I laughed out loud at Dexter's face when Rita hugs him in her emotional breakdown. Dexter is hilarious to me. I laughed out loud again when Dexter says, "I'm Dexter Morgan," and I can't think of anything else to say. Dude, is this show a comedy? Because Dexter makes me laugh so much with how weird and awkward he is. This is a huge discovery for Deb and Batista, and I'm stoked for her. She's killing it as a detective so far.
Oh, please. Crazy open with Dexter's monologue taking place on a crime scene. Like, I really like how that was done. It looked like, he was doing the killing for a moment as he's walking through it, and we hear his voices or his inner monologue. I like that. Good shit with Deb and Angel getting a lead and it being the witness from before. Great drama, especially when they see the car, and then it's a hell of an escape by Perry. I do love the one shot when LaGuerta is talking to everyone and Dexter asks Deb about finding the ice truck killer. Great choice to show, a great look at the whole squad. I like how the camera panned around the whole room in a one shot. Also, a great choice to cut to Rita freaking out about Paul getting the kids from school. Nice way to remind us of another moving part in the story. Major excitement with Deb and Angel finding the boxes in the closet, but also some tension and nervousness sets in because the ice truck killer has to have some stuff on Dexter, right? I mean, given his obsession. This is a very exciting open, to say the least.
Yeah, and I really liked the whole station wagon aspect because, it wasn't like that he just happened to have the same car as Ice Truck Killer. We really find out here that he's, just another serial killer that happened to cross paths with the same kind of crime scenes and same places as Ice Truck Killer. So I thought that was really well done. I liked that.
Yeah.
Back at the station, LaGuerta catches the captain up on some open cases, and as he leaves the room, the two have a bit of a hostile standoff, as you can still tell the tension between the two. Back at Rita's apartment, Astor and Rita share a moment regarding Paul, where she tells her mom that she talked with Paul and that he promised he wasn't going to hit her anymore. We find out that Rita and Paul are still married as he won't sign the divorce papers, and Rita and Dexter share a moment where he admits to having a dark side and to hurting other people, but Rita takes it in jest. We cut to Dexter visiting the halfway house, looking for Jeremy, where he finds out he's selling himself when he's interrupted by a call from Deb, calling him to Perry's place to check out what they found. As soon as he gets there, he tells her this isn't the right guy, but the discovery of a buried body causes some doubt, which makes Dexter consider the possibility that the man he's been idolizing this whole time is nothing like he thought or hoped. Back at Rita's house, Paul walks right into the house carrying flowers and donuts, trying to reconnect. But some pushback from Rita causes Paul to raise his voice and lose his temper a little bit in frustration momentarily, before apologizing and letting everyone down. After a quick briefing at the station, we learn that Dexter is on his day off and using the very inconspicuous disguise of sunglasses and a plain black hat to hunt Jeremy Downs. He's interrupted by Dokes and someone else who nearly catch Dexter as he's talking to Downs, but somehow Dexter gets away without anyone questioning the guy with a hoodie talking to their perp. But okay. After talking to a hotel manager, Deb and Batista stumble upon the room Neil Perry has rented and discover he currently has a victim tied up as they enter. After learning that Perry is coming right back, the two look at each other, formulating a plan as we cut back to the station, where Dokes once again skeptically tells Dexter he's right and that he's watching him.
I asked her as a kid, so I won't hold this against her really, but it's a hell of a character swing to me, going from hating her dad basically to ready to call him dad again. But, she's a kid, Rita is clueless. Listen, sis, he definitely does hurt people. Dexter, it seems like he's aching to tell her what he does. And I kind of want to ask y'all, does Rita start to help him in later seasons? But I don't want that spoiled. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I was not expecting the conversation between the guitarist and Dexter to go the way it did. I'm just going to leave it at that. Question for any cops or FBI agents that listen, if we have any. If Dexter goes in on his day off like this, is he paid overtime? Because I would want to be paid overtime if I got called in and had to work. Dexter, I bet, feels like a dummy with Deb schooling him in front of everyone when they pull that skeleton from outside of Neil Perry's house. I get a bad feeling from this Paul guy. He's trying really hard to win Rita back over and the kids. But after everything he was in prison for, I've got my eyes on him. And it is your job to raise your kids, but you lost your privilege when you beat the mother of your children. It's up to her to decide when you get access back to the house. I didn't like how he just walked in there all like he still owned the place. But I guess technically he does still own the place. But,
I know what you meant.
I like the detective work amongst everyone. I think Deb is starting to shine in this office, and I'm sure she's going to be even bigger and bigger as this show goes on. Got to throw another Randy Orton line in there. Dokes, Randy Orton's Jeremy out of nowhere. I thought they were about to ambush Dexter, to be honest with you. And holy shit, what a sight when they get into the hotel. That was horrifying for that woman. I could not imagine. And I'm about to catch hell for this because I know you two disagree. But I think Dokes has been a little over-criticized. I think he's been fine throughout, and he's made me laugh with how much he fucks with Dexter. Go ahead.
Fuck Dokes. So after such a hot open to the show, great call by the writers to slow us down with this set of scenes. Just like wrestling, you heat them up, and then you cool them down before the hot finish. I did laugh when Bro said, told Dexter he's not gay, but $20 is $20. That was hilarious. So was Dexter telling Deb Perry isn't a killer while a body is dug up behind him. I love how that was shot. Like, from Deb's perspective, we could see what's going on behind him. He had no clue. That was funny. Dexter being insulted that his idol could be Perry is great, but he was wrong. That wasn't a double wide. Matter of fact, that trailer looked old enough to predate when double wides were invented in the late 60s. So, factual error there. Old habits when he walked in the house. Rita has to utilize that restraining order. Paul fucking sucks. But while he's here, he better reimburse her for her fucking RAV4 getting jacked, or at least give her 2 ounces of blow. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? Dokes and crew busting Jeremy while Dexter was right there. That was crazy. If Dokes saw Dexter, he's fucked. Like, how could he explain that? Especially being in disguise, like you said. So I think that was really good tension. I love that. And then even more tension when Dokes tells Dexter he's on to him. Kind of weird when Dokes asks why his instincts were always right. He has no reason to be suspicious. So weird. But anyway, good set of scenes.
We open up back at the hotel room with Neil Perry returning from the liquor store. Batista and Deb ambush him and they arrest him as he sings like a lunatic. We cut back to Rita's house as Paul shows up unannounced, and after a dick measuring contest between Dexter and he, we find ourselves back at the station for a few seconds as we learn of a party for Tony Tucci going on the same evening as he's released from the hospital. Back at Rita's house now later that evening, Rita learns of the earlier incident and admits Paul did own the house to which they're currently living in. Rita makes a very important comment. She says she wishes Paul would go away forever. Dexter smiles, and we think we know what's coming up next, as we are then shown Paul at his apartment/hotel room. I'm not even sure what that is, if that's an apartment or what that is. But he's in there making a joint. We think it's Dexter, but it's Rita, who is there to have a heart-to-heart, and she leaves with Paul having finally signed the papers. Going a lot better than expected. Back at the station, we see Neil Perry and Jeremy both under interrogation, but then quickly cut to Tucci's hospital room as we see Rudy Cooper joking with him and everyone else in attendance about how good of a sport Tony has been through the entire prosthetic process. Rudy and Deb step to the side where Rudy steps up the flirting and asks her to dinner just as Dokes shows up. Back at the station again, Captain Matthews voices his displeasure with LaGuardia's interview techniques. Dexter busts into Jeremy's interrogation room in another risky situation, finding out about Jeremy's demons, scraping his fingernails for DNA while helping to lend a guiding light as well. Later that evening, we see things moving fast with Deb and Rudy as they share an intimate moment while eating dinner. We then cut to Dexter on his way to visit Jeremy in jail with the intention of becoming his Harry, and we find out Jeremy has committed suicide. We then see Matthews enter LaGuardia's office again, telling her, among other things, it's nice to be praising her police work instead of her politics for a change, before telling her he already did the press conference and took all the credit for catching the ice truck killer. We close the episode with Perry sitting down with Dexter to answer some questions and realizing instantly he doesn't know who he is and that we have the wrong guy in custody.
I just want to say that you saying that he was making a joint, that made me laugh.
Rolling the marijuanas, whatever the young kids do nowadays.
He was in there making a joint. That shit was so... Anyway, go ahead.
I didn't even catch that.
You're as old soul as I am, so don't...
All right. I can't imagine what's going through this lady's head as she's bound to this bed. Even though the police are there, I would be so terrified. Like, what if the guy just walks in and shoots her, you know? Nitpick, though, how is no one hearing her scream? This is a public motel. It's not a fucking dungeon. That was a little bit of a nitpick. Dexter, the emotionless man, I know he has to hate all this baby daddy drama. He's like, what the fuck am I doing here? Dexter pulling a Kobe, not even flinching when Paul fake punches him. I think Paul needs to understand Dexter is like a sprained ankle. Nothing to play with. Boom, I got both my lines in the first episode. Let's fucking go.
Damn, he did.
Rita, you just fucked up. Why can't he just go away? You said that to the wrong person because Dexter can make him go away. Mm-hmm. It would be hard looking the kids in the eyes, though, after killing their father. If that happens, I don't know. I haven't watched past this episode yet. I'm getting fired up listening to Rita go off on Paul, the mild, meek lady going off to protect her cubs. I love that. Deb is aching for a quaking from this doctor, but you know what? I'm pulling for her. And I revised my notes today, reading them back. This sounds really bad in hindsight, considering what we find out in the next episode. Neil Perry is played by Sam Witwer, a DGOT alum from The Mist. He was Private Jessup. But Neil is a sicko, confessing how he killed his victims. Great interaction between Dexter and Jeremy with haunting camera shots of Dexter's face and eyes. I thought that was next level. That was one of the best things we've seen so far. I like how upset Dexter is. He didn't help Jeremy, and I'm intrigued by his need to connect. Well, scratch record, Jeremy is off himself. I guess the Tuttle family from Louisiana called him. The captain is messing with LaGuardia so much, he's working hard to make her into a great cop and not a politician. This is a hell of an end as Dexter sits across from Neil Perry. This has been by far my favorite episode so far. A lot going on, but it's dramatic and action-packed with interesting storylines that are fleshing out.
Yeah, great plan by Angel and Deb to gag the hooker again to trap Perry, but when that motherfucker started singing, I probably would have shot him. That was psychotic. Who sings in that situation? And then, Nico, I don't know if you saw my face when you said a line when you were reading your notes. I'm guessing not, but I have this too. Paul showing up at the house was a bitch move again, but I love that Dexter channeled his inner Kobe when Paul acted like he was going to punch him. I have that in my notes. Hell yeah, good catch. It was just like when Matt Barnes acted like he was going to throw the ball off Kobe's head, didn't flinch at all. I know Dexter felt like a kid on Christmas when Rita said she wants Paul to disappear forever. Like he kind of lit up a little bit. That was good.
Yeah.
Great character development when she stood up to Paul at his motel room. I like that. She's, getting the backbone about her. LaGuardia's ass spreading like cream cheese. What does she mean by that, brother? That was crazy. Jeremy is just like Dexter if he hadn't have had Harry. So I like that they're, trying to weave that in like he's wanting to be a mentor to the kid.
Yeah.
Deb knows how to pick him, don't she? I'll leave it at that because we're not there yet. But next episode, you'll see what I mean. But I'm glad she had fun on her date. She still sucks. Jeremy killing himself and Dexter saying that he took his advice was a good way to tie up that subplot. We introduce these characters. Don't make it drag on. Just get to the point of where it's going. I like the way that was done. And then, fun fact about this ending, many of the film shots, especially up until the last moments, are shot at an angle representing that Dexter sensed that something isn't right, that the police have not caught the right killer. And in the last moments, the angle filmed is really askew. And then Dexter meets Perry, who delivers the final sentence, and the camera tilts from askew to upright. Dexter smiles and almost looks into the camera when he realizes that his view was right this whole time. So I thought that was really good shit from the showmakers there. And I'll just finish it up by saying this again. Great episode. I gave this one a 9.5. Like, I'm all the way hooked now.
Absolutely. So while searching for Neil Perry, the ice truck killer suspect, Deborah and Angel catch him in room 20 of the Pink Motel. In the first episode of season 8, while Dexter is searching for Deborah, he finds her in room 6 of the Pink Motel. So
I'll say something about the motel there. Nico, you said, how the hell did they not hear her screaming? I don't know. That motel seems like the kind of place that wouldn't have a lot of vacancy issues. Like, I think there's no shortage of rooms there, so I don't know how many people are actually there to hear her screaming. And the manager there, she didn't seem too concerned with what Perry was doing in these rooms, so she didn't give a shit. So maybe we could just chalk it up to that.
it was a good point, though. Like, I thought.
Yeah, for sure.
Whenever Nico said that, I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I never thought about that. All right, fellas. Heading on to episode 8, Shrink Wrap. Director, Tony Goldwyn again. We open up with Vanessa Gale, played by Susanna Lanza, being found dead in her bathroom with hard nipples, which we thoroughly discussed last week on the show, by the way. So go ahead. I don't know if that's going to get brought up again. But anyway, Gale is found dead in her bathtub, apparently having shot herself, although her husband refuses to believe that she committed suicide. Dexter pretty quickly connects her death to that of 2 other women who similarly killed themselves the previous year, Megan Dowd and Carolyn Gillian. Deb and Rudy pull up to the crime scene, making out like 2 little school kids. Dokes and Masuka make jokes about her playing hide the salami and being wet, as Dokes orders her to canvass the neighborhood. It's still raining when Dexter arrives at Rita's house with 4 hot chocolates. To his surprise, asshole Paul opens the door and welcomes him inside. The court supervisor is still there, watching over Cody and Astor. Rita finally arrives and apologizes for being late. The court supervisor leaves, and the kids come running into the room. The kids don't want Dexter's hot chocolate because their father had already made them some. A lot of coincidence. And Paul then puts Cody and Astor to bed, stating that Rita and Dexter don't need a chaperone. Dexter becomes suspicious when he discerns a pattern of recent deaths of powerful women by suicide. LaGuardia leans close to Dexter and asks why he's suddenly interested in suicides, to which he answers morbid curiosity. When he asks what he can do for her, she flirtingly says so many things, reinitiating that flirting that we haven't seen between her and him since the pilot episode. Captain Matthews interrupts, telling LaGuardia that he had a good time at dinner last night with the DA, celebrating the arrest of Neil Perry. This angers LaGuardia, but Dexter tells her not to be upset because Neil is the wrong guy and Matthews will soon have egg on his face. Dexter takes out a doll's head from his desk drawer, worrying that the true ice truck killer will disappear, but quickly shifts focus back to work, discovering that the 3 dead women had consulted the same therapist, Dr. Emmett Meridian, played by director of the episode, Tony Goldwyn. Dexter quickly pays him a visit under the pseudonym Sean Ellis. During his first therapy appointment, Dexter is impressed with Meridian's insights. While Meridian is paying for lunch, Dexter sneaks a look at his appointment book, noticing a session for Scott Solomon at the time of Vanessa's death. In a flashback, Dexter ambushes Harry, choking him until Harry tells him to stop. He praises Dexter for the ambush until Dexter cheerfully states that he won. Harry then reprimands him and says it's not a game, but the only way he knows how to keep him out of an electric chair and is teaching him about survival.
We had another hell of an opening. 2 cops guessing what bloodstains on the wall look like. All the while, a woman is naked and dead in the tub below. Like, what is going on in the Miami Police Department? My goodness. Deb is trying to get she and the doctor killed. Let that man drive the car without necking him. Jesus. Like, don't get both of y'all killed. What's going on with you? Masuka, I know Brian appreciated this, was so ready to make a joke about her being wet. My man. And before I keep going, there's a line I have in my notes, and I'm curious if Dustin wrote the same thing. Is Dexter the emotionless man getting jealous of how the kids feel about their dad? thought that was interesting. I enjoyed the moment with LaGuerta pissed at the captain and Dexter's continued belief that Perry isn't the eye struck killer. Like, I'm really invested in these episodes now. Dexter, he eats a Lori Grimes to help clear his mind. I hate that I can never see an oatmeal cream pie ever again normally. And I wrote LOL at the 3 Suicide Sisters all had the same therapist, and Dexter saying he must be terrible at his job. Fellas, I had to pause because I was laughing because that shit was hilarious to me. Dope as hell that Tony Goldwyn is the therapist and director of this episode. Shout out to Behath for making me aware of that. I did not notice that he was the director. And speaking of Tony Goldwyn, he's a at least 2-time alum of this show from Jason Lives and Belko. But let's go back to Duck Dynasty again. He's also in the movie Ghost. And it's hilarious to me that Jace and Willie beat Jep up because he said he was scared of the movie Ghost. So I thought that was funny. But is it just me, or does he look like Joe Goldberg should be dad? Michael C. Hall does such a fantastic facial acting as Dexter, showing his changing emotions. I think he's great. And Dexter's foster father is a sicko. How in the world can you encourage this behavior? But I guess it's a form of love that I just don't understand.
My man is on a Duck Dynasty roll right now.
Brother, I've been binging that show so much on YouTube. It came up once in my algorithm, and I can't stop watching it. I love that show so much. It's so funny.
Hell yeah. Kind of weird with this episode, just starting at a crime scene and no monologue. Like, that threw me off. We're used to hearing Dexter talk first thing, and we don't get that here. Then we hear it. Note to self. Dexter has a new target. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Love it. Paul being at Rita's house when Dexter got there. I really hate that motherfucker. Like, God. LaGuerta coming up behind Dexter at his desk. Man, she wants him. She practically had her mouth to his ear when she was talking. He needs a restraining order. Like, it shouldn't be hard to find in that station. And then Dexter's back and forth with Meridian was good. 2 experts in reading people. It's like bird and magic squaring off. I loved it. So really strong opening to this episode.
All right. We open up with LaGuerta visiting Perry again. Thanks to Dexter's subtle manipulation, she suspects he's not the true killer. She presses him until he promises to give up information if he can be interviewed first by a reporter. We cut back to Dexter, who has decided to send the real ice truck killer a message via Craigslist that only he would understand, signing it, quote, Barbie. Dexter then tracks down Scott Solomon while out jogging and confirms that Scott had kept his appointment, which gave Meridian an alibi. Scott definitely seems to flirt with Dexter and appears disappointed when Dexter says he has a girlfriend, coming to a conclusion that he's going to need a follow-up appointment. We then cut to Deb's apartment where she's riding him like there's no tomorrow. After some back and forth, Deb tearfully admits what they're doing is making love, not just fucking. Back to Rita's thread. Rita finds Paul waiting for her and the kids at the playground without a court supervisor. He convinces stupid-ass Rita to cancel her lunch date with Dexter and spend the day together as a family. He's definitely working his way back into the fold. Still believing that there was something fishy about the suicides, Dexter schedules a second session with Meridian. He brings up that Meridian is a fake, but the doctor dismisses it, calling it a common first-time reaction to therapy. During this meeting, though, Dexter notices a small camera hidden inside plant at Meridian's office, which secretly recorded the sessions on a nearby laptop. Dexter then takes the opportunity to explore his control issues and inability to open up to others. He's told by Meridian to relax, focus on his breathing, and remember a time when he felt powerless. Suddenly, Dexter starts to panic as events from his past start to surface. One's a memory of the time he wanted to kill a bully named Joshua. Harry tells teenage Dexter that he's proud that Dexter walked away. Dexter remarks that he should not be proud because he still wants to kill Josh. We cut back to Perry and LaGuerta as we also find out that LaGuerta had sent a cop in posing as a reporter for the interview, but Perry does not fall for it. After he reveals knowing how she was promoted, LaGuerta realizes that Neil obtained information about the cases from cracking the police database. Later that evening, and after a little breaking and entering at Meridian's, where Dexter easily erases his own session files, he continues to watch sessions from the other 3 suicide victims. Dexter discovers that Meridian would suddenly cut off their medication supply, causing them to go into severe withdrawal. He then filled their heads with noble thoughts of suicide, even going as far as recommending the use of firearms to show how, quote, truly brave they are. Dexter then makes his way to Rita's house, and she quickly begins kissing him and takes off her nightgown, saying she's ready to have sex with him. Dexter, however, is having a little trouble concentrating and stops the sex session. As he leaves, Rita looks puzzled. Even though he had enough proof, Morgan talks to himself and postpones killing Meridian in order to meet with him to discuss his sexual hangups.
Our props to Sam Witwer. I think he's great as Neil Perry. He has a very uneasy presence on the screen. He just feels like a serial killer. I'm a sociopath. He can't help me. Dude, Dexter is hilarious, and I say that a lot in my notes, but he cracks me up a lot in this very dark yet funny series. Deb getting some much-needed dick, but my goodness, are they sweating enough. Turn some damn AC on. Like, to me, it's a turnoff if I'm that hot and sweaty. I feel bad for Rita. Paul is manipulating the kids against her to, like, get his way, and I'm kind of hoping Paul gets his comeuppance. Masuka is funny. He wants a sugar mama. He hit up Craigslist, but only found cat ladies and saggy titties. This guy's an idiot, like I told you guys in the group chat, but he's funny.
He's funny.
Must be nice to work for a paycheck and enjoy it, Dr. Meridian. I don't know if any of us can relate. Wanting to kill someone because they knocked the milk out your hand is outrageous. Foster dad Harry, you should have sent Dexter to a therapist immediately. Oh boy, Neil is playing LaGuerta's feelings now. He's in her head. This is about to get ugly, I fear. And here's another moment where I laughed at Dexter. Breaking and entering, he says, as he reads Rita's text, where are you? Dude, that shit was hilarious to me. Like, Dexter is funny. Dr. Meridian is the worst psychiatrist I've ever seen. What the hell, man? You get depressed people addicted to meds, and then you encourage them to kill themselves? Like, that was some wild shit. Dexter, my man, I hate to get too sexual on this show. I know you're a weird guy. But if Rita climbs on top of me, I'm folding immediately. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, good shit with Perry and LaGuerta. Becoming a legend is the motivation for a lot of mass murderers, I feel like. I wish there was a way to keep their identities from getting released to the public. All we really need to know is that they were caught, or they got. So, but there's no way. That's unrealistic. Good shit by Dexter when he spoke with Solomon. Good way to stay unknown and get his answers. And then we get Deb's sex scene. Rudy's one creepy motherfucker saying her body is perfect and he wouldn't have been able to make it better himself. What a weird thing to say, man. But then, hey, Barbie, how would you like to suck my cock? What a line. That feels like something I'd read on Barstool FSU's Tinder Tuesday post. Those are hilarious. By the way, if you're unfamiliar, check them out on IG. Hilarious. I send some to Nico every now and then that are just so outrageous. Wolf in sheep's clothing. I love that back and forth with Dexter and Meridian. I have Matthew 7:15 tattooed on my ribs. Beware the wolves. So I like that subplot there. I like how Perry is written as a character. He says and does so many things to throw us off and throw the cops off as well and remain mysterious and intriguing despite us knowing that he's not the real killer. It's like we know that, but we're still intrigued because there's so much going on. Dexter having his ringer on while he's doing a B&E, that's a choice. I thought the idea was to remain unseen and unheard. Who the fuck just has their phone on loud? And then talk about a confidence destroyer. Imagine handing your girlfriend her clothes and leaving after she gets naked and says she wants to have sex for the first time. Realistically, she would have broken up with him over that. Like, there's no coming back from that. But good set of scenes.
All right, fellas, this is the ending. Deb visits Rudy at his lab, and he makes molds of her legs, supposedly for a patient of his. They end up having sex, which she brags about when she returns to the precinct like an idiot. Maria calls Dokes into her office and says they need to have their firewall checked, referring to her revelation with the Perry interview. In third session with Meridian, during a relaxing technique, Dexter remembers walking towards Josh, holding a knife in his right hand. Harry grabs him in time to stop him from going further and then angrily lectures Dexter about the danger of losing control. Then Dexter's subconscious memories of his mother's murder come up, and he immediately leaves the session. The session had some good effect, though, because Dexter shows up back at Rita's later that evening and fucks the shit out of her, lasting a very efficiently long minute and 45 seconds or so. We then cut to another meeting between Perry and LaGuerta, where Perry confesses that he is not the ice truck killer after he freaks out at the sight of a severed head. Matthews is furious when he learns that Neil recanted his confession, and the DA then insists on moving forward with the trial regardless. Back at Meridian's office in a fourth and last session, a happy and confident Dexter admits his serial killer history before confronting Meridian about his indirect murders of the women. He then chokes Meridian, injecting him with M99, and prepares a kill room in his office. When Meridian wakes up, Dexter asks him why he targeted powerful women, and thanks him for his help in working out his issues before killing him with a jigsaw. Later, while Deborah is singing and dancing before a mirror in her bedroom, Rudy calls from his apartment. He tells Deborah that he's running late because he's in the middle of some housework. When he calls himself a neat freak, Deborah remarks that he's full of surprises. Chuckling, Rudy replies, "Oh, you have no idea." And Rudy is revealed as the ice truck killer when he responds to Dexter's message online and then walks into his freezer of sliced body parts and Barbie doll.
I thought this was a weird role play scenario for Deb and her doctor. And why does she feel the need to tell the entire office she fucked her boyfriend in his office? That's just weird office behavior. I didn't get that at all. Maybe that's why Dustin doesn't like her. And damn, Tony Goldwyn got my man Dexter in a blender with his breathing exercise. My goodness. And I think it's interesting that Dexter, before he kills people, he takes something from them. Like in the last couple episodes before he killed that couple, he's like, "How do y'all love each other?"
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then shoves the rags back in their mouth. But, before he kills Tony Goldwyn, he's got to get like one more therapy session in. I think that's interesting of him. And as soon as I saw Dexter outside of Rita's door and that look on his face, I knew my man meant business. Kevin Hart voice. Hey, okay, all right. We knew what he's about to do. This is a hell of an interview procedure by LaGuerta. I'm not sure if it's legal to shove a decapitated head in front of someone being interviewed, but it worked. Dexter continues to be right. Neil Perry isn't the ice truck killer. But, now that I'm thinking back on it, he does look more of like a computer hacker than a killer. So it works out good. But honestly, in this day and age, a computer hacker might be scarier than a murderer. Slick work by LaGuerta setting up the captain and DA for failure. I really like that. And I'd have the same face Tony Goldwyn hearing my patient admit they were a serial killer. Like, if I was a psychiatrist and they told me like they were a serial killer, I'm like, okay. Let me get out of here. Nothing extraordinary for me to say here except, damn, this is an intense, awesome scene between Dexter and Dr. Meridian. Goldwyn, I think he acts his ass off lying on that gurney or whatever he is, bound to the bed. And Dexter is haunting. Like, whenever he locks into his dark mode, Dexter is very scary. And I might be, being dramatic here, but I wrote the F word 3 times with several exclamation points. The doctor is the ice truck killer. Holy shit. And like I text these guys in the group chat, I was like, Hello Zep just played in my mind. I did not expect this. I just heard like the Saw music start playing and the big reveal. I was mind blown. I fucking loved this episode. It was great.
Hell yeah. So when he's making the cast of Deb's legs, she says, "Can I make one of your cock?" Jesus, Deb. Like, way to make a weird situation even more weird. Side note, the word cock is so off-putting for a woman to say, at least to me. I know I'm not alone in that. That may be the minority, but I don't know. Just use a different word, ladies. Cock is a weird word for a woman to say. Good shit when LaGuerta said that they have to get their firewall checked. I like the constant developments with Perry. The score when Meridian turns off the lights is great, and I love Dexter's inner monologue. This is ridiculous. I could be killing him right now. I laughed. Like, come on. Of course you could. But it's what he needed. Sparked the fire, and he went double overtime on Rita. Sweat dripping on her forehead. Crazy. and then there's nothing you could ever do to scare me. Well, if you only knew, lady. Then the Miami Police Department, they need to have their cybersecurity team fired. Perry hacked them, and they didn't even notice it until they went looking for it. Come on. Dexter's acting of relief when he was told Meridian was the serial killer. That was hilarious, as was Meridian not believing him. Love seeing Dexter back in action. He hadn't killed anyone in a couple episodes, so I think we were missing that. We really needed it. And then good subtleties with Rudy before the reveal that he's the killer. The little hints had been there all along. If you watch, go back and watch them over, you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Like, this guy's fucking weird. He's a killer. So it's a very good ending. And I'll just say, maybe it's because I love this show, and by this point in the season, I was totally hooked. But I give this one a 9.5 as well.
For sure.
No, this episode's a 10. This was a 10. This one was good. This one was good.
You guys have any trivia for this episode?
Yeah, this shit was good. This was real good. That's it.
Fun fact, it was good.
Yeah.
The alias Dexter gives the shrink is Sean Ellis, like I stated, the first name of Patrick Bateman's younger brother, as mentioned in American Psycho, and main character of The Rules of Attraction. The last name is that of author in both original works, Bret Easton Ellis. And Dexter strangles Dr. Meridian with a Brazilian jiu-jitsu move known as the Lion Killer.
Whoa. I thought the Lion Killer was a herd of wildebeests or water buffaloes, whatever they were. What got Mufasa? Oh,
it's too soon.
That's also
Scar.
It
was Scar. It was Scar's bitch ass.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Jeez.
You know, that's a 30-year anniversary of The Lion King.
No, that's crazy.
It really is. It's playing in the theaters now.
94.
God, I feel like a fucking fossil.
You are.
Brian, that was your junior year of college? Sorry.
Sorry. All right, Nico, take us out, brother.
I appreciate all of our blood donors. We really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big burden off of us. You know who you are.
Absolutely.
Dustin, my man, you can't say that I'm not fucking with the show anymore. 7 and 8.
Yeah.
I'm in there like swimwear. And I was honestly watching episode 9 before we moved up the shows. So I got like 10 minutes into it, so I had to stop it. But once we get done tonight, I'm probably going to finish episode 9 just to go ahead and start finishing this off. This has been really good these past couple episodes. I'm excited. I'm ready to see what happens at the end.
Glad you like it.
All right, we'll be back next week. We appreciate y'all listening.
Just want to remind everybody,